What happens when a mother becomes consumed by fear and obsession? This is the chilling story of Lori Vallow, a once loving parent whose descent into extremism left 2 children missing and a string of deaths shrouded in mystery. Once celebrated as a devoted mother and wife, Lori Vallow's life took a dark turn after she embraced extreme religious beliefs that bordered on apocalyptic prophecy. What started as an interest in faith soon spiraled into something far more sinister, a world where reality blurred, trust eroded, and lives were put at risk. In the small town of Rexburg, Idaho, Lori lived what appeared to be a normal life, raising her teenage daughter Tylee Ryan and adopted son Joshua J.J. Vallow. But behind closed doors, her world began to unravel. Consumed by visions of impending doom, Lori declared herself a chosen messenger, tasked with preparing humanity for the end times. Her once stable family fractured under the weight of these radical ideas, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and heartbreak. And then came the disappearances. In September 2019, Tylee and JJ vanished without a trace while under their mother's care. Despite frantic searches, no sign of them has been found. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered a web of deceit, conflicting stories, and even murder, raising suspicions about Lori's involvement in not just the children's disappearance but also the deaths of those closest to her. This isn't just a case of missing persons. It's a tale of betrayal, extremism, and the devastating consequences of unchecked belief. It's a story that spans multiple states, involves bizarre twists, and leaves us asking one haunting question. How could someone who once loved so deeply fall so far? If you love uncovering the truth behind chilling true crime stories like this one, hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss any updates from Vic's Crime Case Files. Together, we'll explore every twist and turn of this harrowing case. Stay tuned, as the answers may shock you. Lori Vallow was once a woman admired by those around her, a dedicated mother who prioritized the well-being of her children above all else. She married Charles Vallow, and together they built a life centered on family. They welcomed Joshua J.J. Vallow into their home as an adopted son, while Tylee Ryan, Lori's daughter from a previous relationship, became the center of her world after the passing of Tylee's father. To outsiders, it seemed like a picture-perfect family, filled with love and stability. But beneath the surface, cracks began to form. Around 2018, something changed in Lori. Those who knew her best noticed subtle shifts at first, small signs that hinted at a growing obsession with religion. At the time, these changes might have seemed harmless, even inspiring. But as months passed, Lori's beliefs grew more extreme, veering into territory that many found unsettling. She started talking about doomsday scenarios, prophesying an imminent apocalypse, and declaring herself a chosen figure destined to play a pivotal role in humanity's fate. Family members recall how Lori became increasingly isolated during this period, withdrawing from friends and loved ones as she delved deeper into her newfound convictions. Her behavior grew erratic, leaving those closest to her bewildered and concerned. Tylee's aunt, Annie Cushing, described a chilling conversation she had with Lori during this time. "It's like she wanted me to be afraid of the end times," Cushing recalled. "There was one moment when she said, 'Sometimes, I think it would be better just to put my kids in a car and go off the side of a cliff.' It was terrifying." These words echoed through the minds of Lori's loved ones long after they were spoken, painting a portrait of a woman consumed by fear and conviction. What had once been a loving, nurturing presence in her children's lives now seemed overshadowed by darkness. The transformation was so profound that even those who cared for Lori struggled to recognize the person she had become. As Lori embraced her radical beliefs, her marriage to Charles deteriorated. Charles filed for divorce in mid-2019, citing fears for his safety and expressing deep concern over Lori's mental state. In court documents, he claimed that Lori believed she was a God assigned to carry out the work of the 144,000 at Christ's second coming in July 2020. For Charles, it was clear that Lori's grip on reality was slipping, and he feared for the safety of their family. By the time Lori moved to Rexburg, Idaho, with Tylee and JJ, her descent into extremism was complete. Yet, despite the warnings and concerns raised by those around her, no one could have predicted the events that lay ahead. This is the story of a woman whose journey took her from devotion to obsession, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and heartbreak. As we delve deeper into Lori Vallow's life, we must ask ourselves, what drives someone to abandon everything they hold dear? And what happens when faith crosses the line into fanaticism? Lori Vallow's transformation from a loving mother into a figure consumed by apocalyptic visions didn't happen in isolation. It was during her time in Rexburg, Idaho, that she crossed paths with Chad Daybell, a man whose influence would forever alter the trajectory of her life and the lives of those around her. Chad Daybell wasn't just any acquaintance. He was a religious author and publisher who had carved out a niche for himself, writing about prophecy, end-time scenarios, and the biblical concept of the 144,000, the chosen few destined to survive the apocalypse. From the moment Lori met Chad, there was an undeniable connection between them. Both shared a fascination with the idea of impending doom and divine intervention. For Lori, Chad's writings offered not only validation but also answers to questions she couldn't articulate herself. His books, which loosely drew from theology of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, painted vivid pictures of catastrophic events leading up to Christ's return. These narratives resonated deeply with Lori, feeding her growing obsession with doomsday scenarios. As their relationship blossomed, so too did Lori's belief system. She began to see herself not merely as a believer but as someone uniquely chosen by God for a special mission. According to court documents filed by her then-husband Charles Vallow, Lori declared herself a God assigned to carry out the work of the 144,000 at Christ's second coming in July 2020. This declaration marked a turning point in her life, one where reality blurred and her sense of purpose became intertwined with extreme religious fervor. But what drove Lori to adopt such radical beliefs? Was she genuinely convinced of her mission, or was she seeking validation in a world that increasingly felt uncertain? To understand this, we must delve into the psychological underpinnings of extremism. Individuals often turn to extreme ideologies when they feel disconnected, vulnerable, or searching for meaning. In Lori's case, it seems her grief over past losses, her husband's divorce filing, the death of Tylee's father, and perhaps even deeper personal struggles, created fertile ground for these ideas to take root. Chad Daybell's influence only amplified Lori's convictions. Together, they participated in podcasts aimed at church members interested in preparing for biblical end times. These discussions weren't casual conversations. They were declarations of faith, each word reinforcing their shared vision of the future. Through these platforms, Lori found an audience willing to listen, further solidifying her belief in her own importance within this narrative. Yet, as her convictions grew stronger, her interactions with others became more erratic. Friends and family noticed changes in her behavior. She spoke less about everyday concerns and more about the urgent need to prepare for the end of the world. Her decisions reflected this mindset, moving quickly without explanation, cutting ties with people who questioned her beliefs, and making choices that prioritized her perceived mission over practical considerations. One chilling example of this shift came during a conversation with a close friend, where Lori revealed a disturbing thought. "Sometimes, I think it would be better just to put my kids in a car and go off the side of a cliff." At first glance, these words might seem like idle musings born out of stress or frustration. But in the context of Lori's growing extremism, they reveal a darker truth, a willingness to sacrifice everything, including her children, in pursuit of what she believed to be her divine calling. This internal conflict underscores the complexity of Lori's psyche. On one hand, she remained fiercely protective of Tylee and JJ, seeing them as integral parts of her mission. On the other hand, her actions suggested a willingness to place them in harm's way if it meant fulfilling her perceived duty to God. Was she truly convinced of her role as a chosen messenger, or was she grappling with insecurities and fears that drove her toward extremes? The answer remains elusive, buried beneath layers of conflicting motivations and unspoken doubts. As Lori's relationship with Chad deepened, the boundaries between her personal life and her newfound identity began to blur. By late 2019, Chad's wife, Tammy Daybell, passed away under mysterious circumstances. Just weeks later, Lori and Chad married on a beach in Hawaii, a decision that shocked many who knew them. Some saw it as evidence of premeditated planning, while others viewed it as another symptom of Lori's descent into obsession. Regardless of interpretation, one thing is clear. Every choice Lori made during this period reinforced her commitment to her extremist worldview. The rise of Lori Vallow's doomsday beliefs wasn't just a personal journey, it was a ripple effect that touched everyone around her. From her estranged husband Charles to her concerned relatives, each person who crossed paths with her during this time bore witness to the profound impact of her transformation. As we continue to unravel the threads of this case, we must confront the uncomfortable reality that sometimes, even the most loving individuals can become lost in the shadows of their own convictions. And when that happens, the consequences can be devastating, not just for themselves, but for all those they hold dear. On September 8, 2019, Tylee Ryan goes on a day trip to Yellowstone National Park with her mother, Lori Vallow, and younger brother, Joshua J.J. Vallow. It is the last time anyone sees Tylee alive. A photo captures her smiling at the park entrance, a fleeting image that would later become one of the final records of her existence. Just 2 weeks later, JJ is last seen at Kennedy Elementary School in Rexburg, Idaho, on September 23, 2019. After this date, both children vanish without a trace. Lori tells conflicting stories about their whereabouts. She claims Tylee has enrolled at BYU, Idaho, pursuing higher education after the family's recent move to Idaho. But investigators find no evidence of Tylee ever registering at the college. When questioned about JJ, Lori says he is staying with relatives or being homeschooled. Neither story holds up under scrutiny. Neighbors recall hearing similar inconsistencies. Lori mentions plans for the children but provides no concrete details when pressed further. As days turn into weeks, concern grows among those close to the family. Larry and Kay Woodcock, JJ's grandparents, grow increasingly worried. Phone calls to check on their grandson go unanswered. Visits to Lori's apartment yield vague responses or outright refusals to discuss the children's status. Desperate for answers, Larry and Kay offer a $20,000 reward for information leading to the recovery of Tylee and JJ. Their pain is palpable as they speak publicly about their fears. "We just want our grandson back," Larry says. "And we want to know where Tylee is." Meanwhile, neighbors and acquaintances begin sharing their own concerns about Lori's behavior. Some describe her as distant and secretive, while others note changes in her demeanor over the past year. One neighbor remembers seeing Lori interact with the children less frequently, often keeping them indoors or out of sight. Another recalls an unsettling comment Lori made during a casual conversation. She said something about how the world was ending soon and that she needed to protect her kids from what was coming. These accounts paint a picture of a woman consumed by fear and obsession, unable, or unwilling, to provide clarity about her children's fate. Back in Rexburg, investigators piece together fragments of information, trying to make sense of the puzzle before them. They discover items belonging to Tylee and JJ in an abandoned storage unit rented by Lori. Bicycles, toys, clothing, and even school supplies sit untouched, remnants of lives abruptly interrupted. Yet, despite these findings, there is no sign of the children themselves. Door-to-door inquiries yield little new information. Witnesses either do not remember seeing the children recently or are hesitant to share what they know. The timeline becomes a critical tool in unraveling the mystery. On September 8th, Tylee smiles in front of Old Faithful. By September 23rd, JJ waves goodbye at his elementary school. Then silence. No updates from Lori. No sightings reported by friends or family. The trail grows cold as autumn sets in, leaving behind only questions and heartache. For Larry and Kay Woodcock, the absence of their grandson weighs heavily. In interviews, they express frustration with Lori's refusal to cooperate with authorities. "We raised him since he was a baby," Kay explains through tears. He's part of our family, and now we don't even know if he's safe. Their anguish resonates with anyone who hears their story, a reminder of the human cost behind every missing persons case. As law enforcement ramps up efforts to locate Tylee and JJ, public interest in the case intensifies. News outlets pick up the story, broadcasting images of the missing children alongside updates on Lori's movements. Speculation runs rampant, fueled by the strange circumstances surrounding the disappearances and the deaths linked to Lori's inner circle. Each new revelation adds another layer of complexity to an already baffling situation. But amid the noise, one truth remains constant. 2 children are gone, and their mother holds the key to unlocking their whereabouts. Whether through negligence, deception, or something far darker, Lori Vallow stands at the center of this tragedy. As investigators dig deeper, they hope to uncover answers, not just for Larry and Kay, but for everyone touched by this harrowing tale of loss and uncertainty. For now, though, the silence lingers, heavy and unyielding, as the search continues. After the disappearances of Tylee Ryan and Joshua J.J. Vallow, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell vanish from Rexburg, Idaho. Investigators later discover that the couple had fled to Hawaii, where they rented a home in the same town where Lori had lived years earlier with her first husband. This sudden disappearance raises red flags among law enforcement, who intensify their efforts to locate not only the missing children but also Lori and Chad themselves. In November 2019, investigators conduct a search of an abandoned storage unit in Rexburg, Idaho, linked to Lori. Inside, they uncover a trove of personal belongings belonging to Tylee and JJ: bicycles, toys, clothing, school supplies, photo albums, blankets embroidered with their names, and even medication prescribed for JJ, who has autism. These items serve as haunting reminders of the lives left behind, yet there is no evidence to suggest the children were ever taken care of by anyone else after their disappearance. The discovery deepens the mystery surrounding their fate and fuels suspicions about Lori's role in their vanishing. Meanwhile, police execute a search warrant at Lori and Chad's Hawaiian residence. While they find additional personal effects tied to the missing children, birth certificates, Tylee's bank card, and JJ's iPad, there is still no sign of the children themselves. Strikingly, the home contains very few signs of childhood presence, such as toys or clothing, suggesting that if the children were ever brought to Hawaii, they did not remain long. Instead, the house appears meticulously staged, raising questions about whether Lori and Chad anticipated scrutiny and prepared accordingly. Adding another layer of intrigue to the case is the exhumation of Tammy Daybell's body. Tammy, Chad's wife, died suddenly in October 2019, just weeks before Lori and Chad married. Her death was initially ruled natural, but as authorities investigate further into the couple's activities, they decide to exhume her body for a second autopsy. The results of this examination are pending, leaving open the possibility that Tammy's passing may have been more sinister than originally believed. For many following the case, this development underscores the web of secrets surrounding Lori and Chad, raising concerns about how far they might go to protect their version of events. As the investigation unfolds, psychologists and criminologists weigh in on Lori's possible motivations. Some speculate that her actions stem from a misguided attempt to protect her children from perceived dangers associated with her apocalyptic beliefs. In her mind, she may believe that keeping them hidden, or worse, is necessary to ensure their safety during the impending end times. Others argue that Lori's behavior reflects deeper psychological issues, possibly rooted in paranoia or dissociation. Regardless of the exact cause, it becomes increasingly clear that Lori operates under a distorted worldview, one that prioritizes her extremist convictions over the well-being of her own family. The psychological conflict within Lori is further complicated by her relationship with Chad Daybell. Their rapid marriage shortly after Tammy's death raises eyebrows, leading some to question whether Chad played an active role in shaping Lori's decisions, or if he simply capitalized on her vulnerabilities. Interviews with acquaintances reveal that Chad often wrote about doomsday scenarios and prophetic themes, ideas that likely resonated deeply with Lori given her own growing obsession with end-times theology. Together, They formed a partnership based on shared beliefs, which may have reinforced each other's most extreme tendencies. Despite these revelations, one critical question remains unanswered. Where are Tylee and JJ? Investigators continue to explore every lead, poring over financial records, phone logs, and travel histories in hopes of finding clues. They also examine the possibility that Lori and Chad moved the children out of the country, leveraging the significant financial resources at their disposal. Chad reportedly received a $430,000 life insurance payout following Tammy's death, providing ample means for extended travel or hiding. For the families of the missing children, the uncertainty is unbearable. Larry and Kay Woodcock, JJ's grandparents, express frustration with what they perceive as Lori's deliberate obstruction of justice. She knows where they are, Larry insists. She's always known. We just need her to tell the truth. Their pain serves as a stark reminder of the human stakes involved in this case, highlighting the devastating impact on loved ones left searching for answers. The deeper we dig, the more chilling the details become. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want to stay updated on cases like this one. As the investigation presses forward, the world watches anxiously, hoping for resolution in a case that continues to defy explanation. Whether through cooperation, legal pressure, or unforeseen breakthroughs, the truth about Tylee and JJ's whereabouts will eventually come to light. Until then, the silence persists, a heavy weight hanging over all those affected by this tragic story. The disappearance of Tylee Ryan and Joshua JJ of Vallow quickly spiraled into a national sensation, drawing the attention of media outlets across the country. As cameras rolled and reporters clamored for answers, the once private lives of Lori Vallow and those close to her became a public spectacle. For the families involved, the relentless scrutiny only deepened their anguish, amplifying the pain of uncertainty with every headline and breaking news alert. In the glare of the spotlight, conflicting narratives about Lori emerged, painting her in starkly different lights depending on who was speaking. Neighbors and acquaintances shared their memories of the family, some portraying Lori as a loving mother driven astray by manipulation or mental illness. Others painted her as a calculating figure, using her extremist beliefs to justify actions that defied logic and compassion. These contrasting views created a fractured image of Lori, one shaped not just by facts but by perception, bias, and speculation. For example, one neighbor recalled Lori as always kind and polite, describing how she would greet people warmly despite her increasingly reclusive behavior. She seemed lost, the neighbor said, suggesting that Lori might have fallen victim to Chad Daybell's influence. Another acquaintance offered a darker perspective, alleging that Lori had always been controlling and secretive, even before her adoption of apocalyptic ideologies. Such divergent accounts fueled debates among both locals and online communities, leaving many unsure of what, or whom, to believe. Beyond individual opinions, broader societal issues came under scrutiny as well. The case sparked discussions about the dangers of doomsday cults and how they prey upon vulnerable individuals, exploiting fears and insecurities to gain power and control. Critics pointed out that Lori's descent into extremism mirrored patterns seen in other high-profile cases involving charismatic leaders and radical belief systems. They questioned why no one intervened earlier, highlighting gaps in support networks for those grappling with mental health crises or religious indoctrination. At the same time, the public discourse reflected harsh judgments aimed at Lori's parenting choices. Many expressed disbelief that a mother could allow her children to vanish without explanation, labeling her actions as neglectful or worse. Social media platforms buzzed with commentary, much of it tinged with outrage over perceived failures in maternal duty. This backlash underscored deep-seated cultural expectations surrounding parenthood, particularly for mothers, whose roles are often scrutinized more intensely than fathers. Amidst the noise, however, there were calls for empathy and understanding. Mental health advocates emphasized the importance of recognizing the complexities behind Lori's behavior, urging society to view her not solely as a villain but as someone struggling with profound internal conflicts. Religious scholars weighed in as well, cautioning against dismissing all spiritual practices as inherently dangerous while acknowledging the potential risks posed by fringe groups promoting extreme doctrines. As the story unfolded, news clips and social media posts captured the evolving narrative, each new revelation adding layers to an already intricate puzzle. Television screens flashed images of Lori, her smiling face juxtaposed against grim updates about the investigation. Online forums erupted with theories, ranging from plausible explanations to wild conjectures. Through it all, the tension mounted, driven by unanswered questions and growing frustration over the lack of closure. Captivated yet unsettled by the unfolding tragedy. In this whirlwind of media attention and public opinion, one thing remained certain. The case of Lori Vallow had transcended its origins as a local mystery, becoming instead a lens through which society examined its own values, fears, and failings. And so, as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the world watched, waiting for the next twist in a saga that refused to let go. For better or worse, Lori Vallow's name, and the names of her missing children, would forever be etched in the annals of modern true crime history, a testament to the complexities of human nature and the enduring quest for. On February 20, 2020, Lori Vallow was arrested in Hawaii on charges of felony child abandonment and non-support of dependent children. The arrest came after months of evading authorities and failing to comply with a court order requiring her to produce Tylee Ryan and Joshua J.J. Vallow by January 30, 2020. Investigators had grown increasingly concerned about the safety of the missing children, leading them to seek an arrest warrant for Lori, labeling her and Chad Daybell as significant flight risks due to their substantial financial resources. Lori's first court appearance took place shortly after her arrest. During this hearing, her defense attorney, Daniel Hempe, argued that she did not pose a flight risk and requested a reduction in her $5 million bail. He claimed that law enforcement knew of her location in Kauai and that she had been willing to surrender voluntarily through legal channels. Despite these arguments, the judge denied the request, citing evidence suggesting that Lori and Chad had taken deliberate steps to conceal their whereabouts and avoid accountability. The prosecution presented a compelling case during the proceedings, emphasizing Lori's repeated refusals to cooperate with investigators despite numerous opportunities to do so. In a dramatic courtroom exchange, the prosecutor stated, "Lori Vallow had ample opportunity to produce her children but chose not to. We believe she knows exactly what happened to them." This statement resonated deeply with those following the case, reinforcing suspicions that Lori's actions went far beyond mere neglect. As the legal battle unfolded, new charges emerged against Lori, expanding the scope of the investigation. Authorities began probing her involvement in the deaths of Charles Vallow, her fourth husband, and Tammy Daybell, Chad's late wife. Charles Vallow was shot and killed by Lori's brother, Alex Cox, in July 2019, under circumstances described as self-defense. However, questions lingered about the authenticity of this claim, especially given Alex Cox's subsequent death under mysterious conditions in December 2019. Meanwhile, Tammy Daybell's passing in October 2019, initially ruled as natural causes, prompted authorities to exhume her body for further examination. These developments cast doubt on the official narratives surrounding both deaths and suggested possible connections to Lori and Chad's extremist beliefs. In March 2020, Lori faced another critical hearing regarding extradition back to Idaho. Prosecutors argued that her presence was essential for ongoing investigations into the disappearances of Tylee and JJ, as well as the broader allegations tied to the deaths of Charles and Tammy. Throughout these proceedings, Lori maintained her innocence, insisting that she had acted in the best interests of her children. Yet, her refusal to disclose their whereabouts continued to fuel skepticism among law enforcement and the public alike. The complexity of the case grew with each revelation, prompting intense debate over Lori's true motivations. Was she a victim of manipulation caught up in a dangerous ideology, or was she complicit in orchestrating a web of deception? As the legal process moved forward, these questions remained unanswered, leaving many searching for clarity amidst the chaos. Did Lori Vallow really abandon her own children, or is there more to this story than meets the eye? Share your thoughts in the comments below, And don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this episode. The truth behind Lori Vallow's actions, and the fate of Tylee and JJ, continues to elude investigators, ensuring that this harrowing tale will remain at the forefront of public consciousness for years to come. As of recent developments, Lori Vallow faces multiple charges, including murder, in connection with the deaths of Charles Vallow and Tammy Daybell. The search for Tylee Ryan and Joshua JJ of Vallow continues, leaving families and communities haunted by unanswered questions. Despite extensive investigations, the fate of the two missing children remains unknown, a chilling reminder of the profound impact one individual's actions can have on countless lives. Insights into Lori's psychological state reveal a woman consumed by her extremist beliefs, which gradually eroded her sense of reality and morality. Her descent into doomsday ideology was not merely about faith. It became a framework through which she justified her decisions, no matter how extreme or harmful they appeared to others. Investigators and psychologists suggest that Lori may have believed she was acting in accordance with divine will, blurring the lines between protection and peril. This distorted worldview highlights the dangers of unchecked extremism and the vulnerability of those ensnared within it. The broader implications of this case extend far beyond Lori's personal struggles. It serves as a stark warning about how society must address issues like mental health, religious radicalization, and the exploitation of vulnerable individuals. Doomsday cults often prey on people experiencing grief, uncertainty, or isolation, offering simplistic answers to complex problems. To prevent similar tragedies in the future, communities must foster environments where open dialogue and support systems are readily available. Early intervention and education could help dismantle the allure of fringe ideologies before they take root. For the families involved, the pain is palpable. Larry and Kay Woodcock, JJ's grandparents, remain steadfast in their hope for answers, even as time passes without resolution. Their anguish underscores the human cost of this case: a mother accused of abandoning her children, a string of mysterious deaths, and a community left grappling with the incomprehensible. Each day brings new challenges, yet also renewed determination to uncover the truth. Despite the lingering uncertainty, there is room for hope. Justice, though slow, continues to pursue its course. Investigators tirelessly follow leads, driven by the belief that every missing person deserves to be found and every crime deserves accountability. For Tylee and JJ's loved ones, this pursuit offers a glimmer of light amidst the darkness, a promise that their voices will not be forgotten. In reflecting on this harrowing story, we are reminded of the fragility of trust and the resilience of the human spirit. While the road ahead may be long and fraught with unanswered questions, one thing remains certain: the pursuit of justice and understanding will endure. As society learns from this tragedy, it carries with it the responsibility to protect the vulnerable and uphold the values of compassion, empathy, and truth. The journey toward closure continues, one step at a time. Lori Vallow's story is one of transformation, a journey that began with a loving mother dedicated to her children and ended with allegations of unspeakable crimes. What started as an exploration of faith spiraled into extremism, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions, shattered lives, and two missing children whose fates remain unknown. This case forces us to confront difficult truths about the intersection of faith, family, and responsibility. How far should belief shape our actions? Where do we draw the line between devotion and danger? These are questions that linger long after the final details of this story have been revealed. As we reflect on Lori's descent into extremism, let us also consider the broader implications of cases like hers. It serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of community support, mental health awareness, and vigilance against manipulation. By understanding the vulnerabilities that lead individuals down dangerous paths, we can work together to prevent future tragedies and protect those who may be at risk. Thanks for watching this episode of Vic's Crime Case Files. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel for more captivating true crime stories. And remember, sharing is caring, so spread the word to fellow true crime enthusiasts. Together, we can continue unraveling the mysteries that haunt our world and honor the memories of those affected by these chilling tales.